As we watch this motorcade head back to the airport, Melissa Redman is with us. She's a former prosecutor in Fulton County, Georgia. She's now a professor at the University of Georgia School of Law. Melissa, thanks very much for being with us in Fulton County tonight. Can you just describe to us the real practicalities of what the former president just went through? We were able to report in real time that he had entered the jail, that he had been arrested, he was therefore in custody, and then that he had been released. We were able to report that he has been had his mugshot taken. We presume he's also had his fingerprints taken. Can you describe just the actual physical setting he would have been in while all that happened and what that experience would have been like for him?
Right. The area where individuals who are turning themselves in go in the jail is separate from, the cells where people are held. So it's a lobby type area where he's brought in. He will be brought to a counter. His fingerprints will be taken, the mugshot taken. Someone behind the computer will input the bond to verify that it's been posted. That updates, and then he's released. So it's a pretty standard process. It doesn't take very long at all. And he is separate from what you would think of as the main part of the jail, where those who are waiting for their turn in court to be held, those who are there for an extended period of time. So he's not in that area.
And you're there at the Justice Center in Fulton County right now. It appears to us, looking at the camera shots that we have from outside, that it's a very controlled, very orderly environment, very secure environment, which is important both for his safety and for everybody else's. From where you've been today, where you're standing now, and what you've seen over the course of this evening, is it a safe, orderly, well-secured environment? How have they handled the media presence, protesters, et cetera?
It is. The officials here are very used to high-profile cases, high-profile individuals. They bring in resources from other jurisdictions if necessary to make sure that the scene is secured. There are separate entrances that they can use if necessary to bring individuals in and out of the courthouse separate from the public interest. Of course, if someone wishes to go in and out the public interest to have that camera time, they're welcome to do that, but they don't have to. There's a way to get high-profile individuals in and out of the courthouse safely while not disrupting as much of the business as usual as if they were going in the public access part.
And Ms. Redman, as somebody who has prosecuted cases in Fulton County, I'm just going to put to you the same question that I put to former DeKalb County DA Robert James a few moments ago, which was I just like to get your take on something that happened today in court filings, which I think was a surprise to a lot of people, after one of the Trump co-defendants invoked his right to a speedy trial, Kenneth Chesebro. Fani Willis responded in a court filing today and said, "Oh, you want a speedy trial? I'm ready to go. I could put all 19 of you in a courtroom and start your trial 60 days from today. And October 23rd, we're ready to go with all of you." That obviously would be a remarkably crowded courtroom and a very, very quick time frame. But I just wanted your reaction to that in terms of how we should view that. And what do you think the practical impact is of that today?
Well, I don't think anyone who's practiced in Fulton County would be surprised. And if you ask for a speedy trial, you need to be ready to have that speedy trial. And I think what we can take away from this is the 2.5 years that DA Willis spent building this case. It wasn't built to present to the grand jury. She was building a case to present to a jury, to take this case to trial. And I think she indicated that at her press conference after the indictment, when she said she wanted to try this case within 6 months. I don't think logistically anyone thinks the case will actually be tried, or would have thought the case would have been tried in 6 months absent a speedy. But I think that was her indicating to the defendants and their counsel that she's ready. So I was not surprised at all to see her response. If you want a speedy trial, October it is.
Ms. Redman, let me ask you one last question about the practicalities here. It's really, really helpful to have your practical experience having prosecuted cases in this jurisdiction. We've all noted the fairly strict language that accompanied former President Trump's bond agreement, restricting him from effectively menacing anybody involved in the case, other witnesses, co-defendants, potential unindicted co-conspirators. He's restricted in his speech from messing with the case by intimidating or tampering with anyone. How is that practically enforced? We know that he's really flirted with that line, if not overtly crossed it a lot around all of his criminal cases. How will that be adjudicated, and what do you expect there?
Well, the state will have to decide whether they want to file a motion to revoke his bond based on his violation of the conditions. There will be a hearing held, and the judge will determine if, by preponderance of evidence, he has violated any of those conditions of bond. Then the judge has to decide what to do about it. He can strengthen the conditions. He can ban him from social media altogether, or can try. I'm sure his attorneys would object to that. He can impose additional conditions. Technically, he can revoke his bond and have him held in custody until his next court date or until the trial. But practically speaking, with the overcrowding at the Fulton County Jail, the idea that we really want to reserve holding someone in custody for violent offenses, and this is not a violent offense, it would likely be a warning, a slap, I wouldn't say a slap on the wrist. It would likely be a warning, maybe some strengthened bond conditions moving forward.
Melissa Redmond, former Fulton County, Georgia prosecutor, really, really clarifying and helpful and practical. Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us tonight from outside the Fulton County Courthouse. Really appreciate it.